Welcome back to Blow Up the Team. Jeremy here today. We're going to be talking about the Kansas City Chiefs 2020 NFL Draft. I've got Matt here with me today.
The world champs. Andy Reid got his Super Bowl. World champion Kansas City Chiefs. I'm totally copying you from like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
so happy for Andy Reid.
Do you even know what I was mimicking when I did that?
No, I have no idea.
After the Eagles won one, because side note, Eagles won one before Andy Reid won one, but that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, no one cares.
Um, I don't remember if it was David Akers or exactly who it was, but one of the old Eagles kickers came back and he made the Eagles first round pick in the draft, and he made the selection.
Just a random kicker.
No, he was like a legendary Eagles kicker, but he came back and he made the
Legendary kicker.
he came back and he was I'm pretty sure it was David Akers. Hold on, now I've got to see David. Oh yeah, David Akers draft. I was right. I'm not gonna. Should I play it? Nah, I'm not gonna
Nah,
play it.
nah. Just
But it's
one more thing to get copyright claimed.
yeah, facts. But he made their first round selection I think, and he got absolutely booed off the stage by Cowboys fans. But yeah, so I was copying him. Anyways, congratulations to the Chiefs. They won the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, the quest begins to repeat, and some of that starts with the draft. But first, obviously, let's do a small little recap on their um, 2019-2020 season, Super Bowl winning season. They finished 12-4 in the regular season. They pretty much looked like they were. It was going to be them. If it honestly felt like it was going to be them or the Ravens the whole way through the regular season. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I think
Um,
everyone got like really distracted, because there was a couple. It was Mahomes was injured for a little while, so everyone's like, "Ah, shit, it's gonna be a shoe in for the Ravens," and then everyone's like, "Oh wait, we forgot the whole time."
yeah, I mean everybody
Mahomes
was
is pretty
the
good with
other
the air
team.
attack.
I feel like the 49ers. I don't know. I never really. One of the kids on my hall was a big 49ers fan and spent the whole year rubbing my nose in it, so I just hated them to hate on them. I'm not gonna lie to you. But it really did feel like to me, I never really felt like they. I didn't think Jimmy Garoppolo was ready, in my opinion. I just didn't think he was ready to
I
be a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
I disagree because he was really good. He had kind of had a bad playoffs with his just general throwing, but I think he's really. I mean, the problem with the cheat with the 49ers was like 2018 that like they sucked, but it wasn't because they were a bad team. It was because they all got injured. And then 2019, 2020, you saw what they can do when they're healthy. I think they
I
like
just didn't
like
think he had any. The fact that he had no playoff experience, I was afraid that the pressure would get to him, and I'm not
it
saying
seems
that
like on
that's
the
what
throwing.
happened.
It seems like on the aerial attack, it definitely did because like his aerial numbers were horrible for. Like I mean, also his running backs were just going off in the. I'm thinking ALDS and NLDS right now because like I'm stuck on baseball because of the stupid
The
fucking
NFC Championship game.
shit. Yeah, the championship game and the divisional round where just like I don't remember who it was. Some no name like running back. Actually, it might have been a different league. But anyway, some running back who doesn't get that much play time went absolutely off and just carried that team. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Anyways, this is not about the 49ers. This is about the Chiefs. They had a great season all around, and Patrick Mahomes looked like the MVP quarterback that he is, the franchise player that he is. Um, and I mean, when it counted, you saw in the playoffs, he put the team on his back when they needed him to. Now, they in the regular season they did finish sixth in yards per game, fifth in passing yards per game. But only 23rd in rushing yards per game. So on a Super Bowl winning team, there's not a lot of holes, but they could use a little bit more impact from the running back position, and in the run game just in general. I think that when they lost Kareem Hunt because of everything that happened with that whole situation, which we're not really going to get into, the running game just never fully got back to the powerhouse it was when they did have him. And they're gonna so I think that a big thing for them would be able to get some power back in the run game, not have everything on Pat Mahomes' shoulders because those comebacks, those comebacks having to be fully on him. That's you can't rely on him long term to do that in and out every single season. He shouldn't have to. But they were ultimately fifth in points per game, and um, honestly, like I normally talk about like notable offseason kind of moves. if I remember correctly, they have the second most returning snaps in the NFL, meaning like out of all their players that are returning, they had a cumulative number second most in the league of snaps coming back. So they kept together almost their entire team. They really didn't let anybody walk. So there was not really any major pickups on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. It's pretty much the same deal. They just wanted to keep the team together as much as they could. So there was no real free agents moves, and I didn't see any like major trades or anything that I saw, other than some on draft night to kind of move up or down in the draft. Um, on defense, they were 17th in yards allowed per game, 8th against the pass. But then again, their rushing defense kind of struggled. They were 26th in rushing yards allowed per game, and you definitely saw that kind of come into play at times. Although surprisingly, it did not have an issue against Derrick Henry somehow.
Yeah.
Not sure what's going on with that. I don't know if it was
Showed
just a
up when
game
they
plan.
needed to.
Yeah, they stepped up when they needed to, and the defense as a whole, as a unit, just throughout the season, stepped up when they needed to. Despite giving up 26th most rushing yards in the league, um, they were 7th in points allowed per game, which means when it came down to it, and they were in the red zone, and they needed to step up, and they needed to make a play, they were able to do so. Again, you would like for them to kind of be able to step up and be a little bit of a better defense this year. But if they can continue to do what they did in the red zone, which I don't know how sustainable it is, but if they can continue to step up and do what they did in the red zone, that's a good sign for the team. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot of kind of off-season notes for them. So let's go
Yeah,
ahead
what can
and
you say about a team that was just so dominant and then won it all? Like it's like
yeah, there's
we're really gonna get on them for anything. Like you can't really.
no, I mean, like obviously, like breakaway runs like that were not the most common thing in the world. So hopefully they're able to get some more out of that. But um, let's get into the draft a little bit. I do believe they only made 6 selections in the draft this year, so they weren't too active, which again makes sense. They're more focused on trying to keep the team together. First round pick, they went with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back out of LSU. Um, he's only listed at 5'7", so he's a bit of a smaller back, but this has shown that it can kind of give him some better balance to help him through contact. He's very instinctive, and he finishes strong. He does have a little bit of below average top end speed, but he's got insane short burst quickness, especially laterally, which makes him elusive and kind of he just tends to lose defenders on his moves. He does need to improve in pass blocking, but he should be an immediate impact player for this team. He's listed at running back 2 behind Damian Williams, and I would not be surprised to see him get kind of a fair amount of snaps on a game-to-game basis, especially if he's able to continue that same kind of production. That lateral quickness is really just good for being able to kind of hit those gaps quickly and kind of get to the second level. And even if he doesn't have the breakaway speed, just being able to get to the second level, you're producing decent runs, decent yardage, which is what you're looking for out of a running back. Second round, they went with Willie Gay Jr., inside linebacker out of Mississippi State. Now, he's physically gifted with size, length, and speed, and was a talented run defender. I mentioned earlier that they needed to step up on run defense, and that's the guy that they went out and got. Somebody that he can cover a lot of ground, and he just seems to find gaps in the protection, and he seems to have the speed to chase down a lot of the backs, or at least like put pressure on them that he's going to chase. He's going to chase with good effort, and he's got the speed to be a threat. He closes well, and he shows some promise as a pass rusher. He reads the QB, and he uses his speed to cover ground quickly. And he's got solid ball skills, so he has the potential in pass coverage as well. His production was not quite there in college, and he did have an 8-game suspension last season due to a tutor completing classwork for him and his teammates. And I believe that those are the 2 reasons why his draft stock kind of dipped into the late second round like this. But I think that he's got all the right tools to have a very productive season a very productive career at an NFL level, and he is expected to be a starter day 1 for this team. So, immediate impact player late in the second round, and he's going to kind of help fill a little bit of a need for them. They needed help in run defense, and that's kind of what he's going to be able to give them. So I like that selection there from them in the late second round. Next up, they've got Lucas Niang out of TCU, offensive tackle. He seems to kind of wall off defenders well, and he shows the ability to at times create a push, and ESPN has decided it doesn't like to show his highlights for whatever reason. But he's kind of able to create that push that you're looking for in run blocking, and kind of set the edge well. He's athletic enough to get to his spot, but he's still big enough to kind of push around linebackers when he gets to that second level. He has the physical attributes he needs to kind of be an elite pass blocker, but he needs some technical work on his hand placement and his footwork. He just seems to kind of get caught off a little bit on pass protection, which again with Pat Mahomes, you're gonna want somebody that's gonna be able to step up and be that pass protection. But um, he is technically listed as a backup, so he should have time to kind of work on that and work at it, work with NFL coaches and even maybe get mentored by some of the kind of elder players on the roster. Um, and I think that I would say I think he could be the guy for the future. He's got all the right tools, and if he can kind of put them all together and work on that footwork, work on that hand placement, I don't see why he can't be productive. Next up, we've got L'Jarius Sneed, safety out of Louisiana Tech. Um, he's big and versatile, and he moved from corner to safety in 2019. He did have the fourth fastest 40 time at the combine. He's got great straight line speed, but it does seem like his lateral quickness kind of gets him sometimes. His hips just seem like they're a little tight. And he does sometimes get a bit grabby when he's kind of covering those routes. He doesn't have great hitting power, but he can still be an effective tackler. But I would say in order for him to, from what I was reading, in order for him to get serious playing time at safety, he ideally needs to fill out just a little bit. He's currently a backup strong safety to Tyrann Mathieu. But I would say even if he can't find a home at a safety position because he doesn't have the ability to put on that size, he's got the speed and just kind of height and just physical attributes to be at least effective on special teams, which I talk about a lot on here. That especially when we're talking about a kind of a late fourth round selection or fifth round selection. I think it's fourth, a late fourth round selection. Getting somebody that will be productive for you on special teams is that's a win. Next up here we got Mike Dana, defensive end out of Michigan. He chases with good effort, which is something you can't teach. And he does show flashes of kind of being able to slip blocks, but he does seem to be a bit undersized to be an edge defender. He does need to also get a little bit stronger against the run, which is a bit concerning considering how weak their run defense is already. You'd kind of want somebody that's kind of a gifted, you would be hoping for at least, a kind of a gifted run defender, but obviously you can't get that at every single selection. He did only have 3 sacks at Michigan in 2019, and it just looks like he needs to improve his hand-to-hand combat skills from what I was reading. And he is on the roster, but not on the depth chart. So both him and the last pick as well, the 7th round pick that I'm going to talk about, I would say don't expect them to get much playing time, if any. But they will. The Chiefs are going to look to develop them. They've got the kind of physical attributes and potential to kind of be that guy for them. If they can be that kind of role-playing guy that could step up and make a few plays for them, given time and given the tools with which to continue to learn and develop. So both of these last 2 guys here, I would just say expect for them to just learn and develop, and I wouldn't expect them to get any major playing time, if any playing time at all this season. And the last guy, Thakarius Keys, cornerback out of Tulane. He has the size and length to play bigger receivers on the outside, but he does have a tendency to lunge, and he needs help with his footwork. He has the tools to be an effective press corner, but he's going to need time to develop. And he has shown flashes of the ability to get off blocks and could be helpful in run support. So again, it'll take time for him to develop, but they've gotten a guy that they could in a few years see stepping up and being an impactful player for that defense. So, and again, when you're late in the 7th round, especially with that last pick late in the 7th round, you don't know what you're getting out of any of those guys if you're getting anything at all. So we're all just kind of looking at potential and seeing what they could come into. Obviously, nothing is a guarantee, especially that late in the draft. So we will have to kind of wait and see on that front. But in terms of their draft, that is it. They only made those 6 selections there. And I think that kind of makes sense. They didn't really need to go out and do a whole lot in the draft. I don't think that they really had gaping holes on their roster. They had some things that they struggled with and maybe some things that they could get better. I do like that they went out and they got their first 2 picks, addressed their 2 quote-unquote weaknesses in terms of run defense as well as the offensive run game. But nothing super crazy, but they didn't need to do anything super crazy. I think they did just what they needed to do. So in terms of a grade, I think I'm going to give them a B. They didn't have a bad draft by any means. I would say that they stepped up and they made their first two selections were the big ones. They were the guys that they knew they needed to be impact players for next year. And then everybody else, they were kind of looking for depth maybe at positions that they were a little bit thin. And they're just going to wait and see what those guys can develop into. So that's pretty much it for me. Not a whole lot to say. They didn't have a very active draft. Do you have anything to add, Matt?
Not really. I mean, everything they picked seemed pretty solid. I really like how they were able to get two. Obviously the first round draft pick, but getting a guaranteed starter out of the second round is pretty important. So like pretty huge. So I feel like they had a pretty good draft overall. But I agree with the B because after some of the other late round picks they had, like guys that are undersized, haven't really might need to change what they're doing, need to bulk up. Like I'm not sure how. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was bordering between a B and a B minus, but given the fact that they just won the Super Bowl, I'm gonna give them the B. I'm gonna give them the B.
The Super Bowl, you don't have a whole lot of needs, and they got really good value out of two picks.
And this is not a off-season kind of ranking at all. Again, this is just based on the draft. But we talk about the offseason because it's important because of what that could mean for them in the draft. And given the fact that they brought back basically everybody from last season, they didn't have a lot of they know that they can get production out of the guys they have because they're bringing back all the guys that they just won a Super Bowl with. So they don't have a lot of holes that they really need to step up and fill. So I think that they did exactly what they needed to do. They didn't go super crazy, but they didn't need to. So I think that'll be it for me. Tomorrow, make sure to come back. Matt will be doing the Kansas City Royals. Oh, you don't sound excited about that.
I mean, listen, I like the Royals, but they ain't doing anything this year.
Right, well, make sure to come back tomorrow to check that out. The kind of the clip video that I played throughout my discussion on their draft will be linked in the description down below, so go ahead and make sure to check that out. Also in the description, you can find our social media links as well as a link to our Discord. Make sure to come out and check that. Come out and check that. Wow, my English is sucking today. I'm so sorry. Go make sure to check that in the description down below.
Excellent.
Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you next time. Peace.